Hello. I am going to do a slightly different 5-Star Friday in that I have come to the end of 5 weeks working with Victoria Mixon, and I could not let this opportunity go without specifically blogging about 5 brilliant things about working with Victoria Mixon. I first saw Victoria on a video interview with Joanna Penn on a creativepenn.com website, and that's Penn with a double N. And I was immediately taken by how well she speaks about story and writing fiction, but great sense of humour, and I am a little bit out there, and I really need someone who can kind of understand where I'm coming from, because if you email me, I'll reply to you, and then I might just put in a bit of side information, and it could be about what's going on with me at the moment, or some bizarre thing that's happened in my past that I think is relevant to whatever it is that we're talking about. So I needed a degree of comfort that I was going to be working with an editor who would get me. And actually, interestingly, I have just submitted a short story to, let's just say, a website, and have got editorial comments back that I consider to be quite rude and very unprofessional. So this is a good time for me to be talking about how fantastic my experience has been with Victoria. So, 5 fantastic things about working with Victoria. I've got them on a post-it. I'm going to stick them up here so I don't keep looking down. Right, okay, so I guess a plug for her books. The first book is The Art and Craft of Fiction. So I saw her video, picked up the book, the first book, and it is like having your best friend who's a writer sitting with you, giving you a pep talk, talking to you about why you're a writer, what madness has possessed you to be a writer, why you should embrace that madness, because it's not necessarily something that's going to finance your career. And it's just very, very warm, and there's loads of examples of classic works, and so I'll be I'm not that well read, and I kind of came away thinking I want to read all those books. I haven't read Wuthering Heights. I'm desperate to pick up a copy. So I love that style. I haven't got a copy here because I've lent it to somebody. But the second book, okay, The Art and Craft of Story, here's where she really kind of gets into structure and fascinating stuff in here. And I emailed Victoria after reading this book and said, I kind of like where you're coming from, and I kind of want to hire you, but I feel a bit strange hiring you because you've written these 2 amazing books. And she wrote back and said, well, if I wrote these 2 books to put myself out of a job, I would be out of a job, so I'm not going to give everything away. So I went back and watched the video again and just thought, fantastic, I have to work with her, and it's been an absolute joy. So the first 2 things, my first 2 stars are book 1, book 2. So, number 3 is humour. She's hysterical. Not only does she kind of get where I'm coming from, and I do have a slightly out there sense of humour sometimes, she is equally... I don't want to use the word odd because it's an understatement, and I don't mean she's peculiar. She just gets it, and she's very dry, and she'll tell me little stories about things that have happened in her life, and I'll tell her stories back, and it just kind of builds. And we are talking about work, we're talking about characters and stuff, but there's always a part of us in our characters. Every single character that's in Body of Water, I can point out the characteristic of me that I've kind of enlarged on and kind of put onto them. There's no one character that's exactly like me. but she understands that, and she's very much kind of, you know, write what you know. You know, she will ask questions and stuff. But I mean, I've cried with laughter. I have yesterday. I did a video. If you're friends with me on Facebook, you might have seen this. But I did a video of me, this kind of dressed as Beyonce, promoting a book, and I did it, and I thought it was a bit of fun, and I kind of posted it, but not publicly on YouTube. It is on YouTube, but you can't find it. And a couple of people on Facebook saw it and thought it was really funny, and I thought, well, I better leave it there because it's a bit of an odd. I do get caught sometimes in between this. How do you conduct yourself as a writer and as an individual, you know, as a person? And Victoria said to me yesterday, well, you know, the stuff that you've written, it could be regarded as erotica. Do you have your real name on it? And I was like, well, yes. So she kind of said, well, you can't really do any worse. And you know, if I think that if people see this video of you as Beyonce, they will love it, and they will love you, and they will love your books. And I'm still not quite sure about that. Anyway, so she saw it. I gave her permission to send it to a couple of friends that she knew would kind of get it, and she did. And I got feedback, and somebody saw it in LA, and you know, wanted to know if I had acting experience, and somebody else has seen it. He was on holiday in Hawaii and thinks it's hysterical, which is great. But as the evening went on, I kept getting emails from her saying, I'm crying with laughter. This is the 5th time I've watched it. You know, so for me, it's been a glorious 5 weeks of fun as well as hard work. So I'm going to come onto item 4, which is about encouragement. So I already said that, you know, in her first book, although her second book's more about structure, very much very encouraging. You know, you read a chapter of the book and you can't wait to start writing. And very early on in the process, you know, Victoria was asking very challenging, very difficult questions, really making me think about things that I hadn't thought about before. You know, I had kind of written this first book by the seat of my pants, and this second book, it had to be thought through. And she was able to hone in very quickly on what the problem areas were. And we were able to take it back to basics. But throughout all of that, it's been incredibly encouraging. And a couple of weeks into the process, it kind of dawned on me that I may very well have to rewrite the entire book for Memory of Water. And that filled me with dread. I've been drafting, redrafting since, well, last August, really. And I thought of having to start again with a sheet of white paper is not was not appealing to me. But she has been so encouraging, and in a way, I will be glad when we finish. Well, we have just finished. To put that draft to one side and literally start with a fresh sheet of paper and start writing that novel again, and knowing exactly where I'm going, knowing those characters inside out, what every scene's trying to do, how it's building to a climax that is inevitable. There can be no other way for this book to finish. And she's helped me and she's encouraged me all the way along to make sure that this is going to be the very best book it can be. So number 4 is encouragement. Number 5 is really work ethic. I guess I might have made it sound like we've been having a fantastic time. She's worked me hard. You know, I mean, thankfully, I've taken sort of one day off a week from my job, and going forwards, I'm going part time, and I'm glad I did, because I've had to use that day to play catch up. I mean, she's doubled my work effort. It's not a case of me handing that book off to Victoria and then she comes back with her comments and I, you know, sit and scratch my chin. I mean, you know, she's like, write me a document about this character's childhood, how they've learned to be helpless. Write me a document, a bestiary. So I've written a document detailing every single non-human character that appears in my books, in all 3 of them. So she can help me structure why they're there and what they're for, and all of that good stuff. she got me to rewrite a scene because she likes my sense of humour, and there was a very dramatic scene, and she said, you know, if you put your brand of humour into that, just try it for me and see how it works. And had a bit of a false start, but the rest of the evening worked on it, and actually came out with a chapter that I thought, wow, you know, that it's got everything that I wanted in it, and it has got this whole other level of humour that endears you as a reader to those characters, even though they're in a very difficult situation. I'm trying to think about some other things that she's got me to do. That have kind of, okay, writing sex scenes. The sex scenes in Body of Water are very explicit. For want of a better phrase, they are a blow-by-blow account of what's happening and what's going in where and how that feels, and brilliant. But actually, she has taught me practically how to write those scenes without being so explicit, without drawing attention to the language and keeping the language around the emotion and what's happening. You know, characters in Leven, I guess, has my bonding instinct, and you know, sex for Leven is a very, very bonding thing. You know, he doesn't casually sleep with people. So if he's going to have sex with somebody, it means something to him, and he can't just switch those feelings off afterwards. So she was able to teach me how to write a scene like that without using explicit language, without drawing attention to that language, and keeping it sexy, but keeping it very much about kind of what's going on in the person's mind as well as what's happening with their body. So all of those things, that discipline, all the background work. I've written loads of work that's never going to appear in the book, but the book will be so much richer for it. So to recap: number 1, book 1. Number 2, book 2. Number 3, humour. Number 4, encouragement. Number 5 is work ethic. So that is my 5-star Friday for brilliant things about working with Victoria Mixon, editor. Highly recommended. Take care. Bye bye.